Let's bring in Colonel Cedric Leighton. He's a CNN military analyst and a retired U.S. Air Force colonel. All right, President Biden is heading to Poland this week to mark the one-year anniversary since Russia invaded Ukraine. What message does Ukraine need to hear from President Biden on this trip?
Well, Paula, the Ukrainians need to hear unwavering support from the United States, especially from President Biden, and I'm pretty sure President Biden will give them that. They also need to have some reassurance that the United States is going to support them diplomatically and militarily and continue the aid that has been flowing to Ukraine through Poland, in large part, during the course of this conflict. So that's the main thing that they want to hear. And of course, if the president can actually put his feet on the ground in Ukraine, that would be an extra bonus at this point.
And Vice President Kamala Harris at the security conference declaring the U.S. will hold Russia accountable for war crimes in Ukraine. How important was it to hear that from the vice president?
I think it was significant, really important, because it shows that there's a legal component to this war, to this conflict. One of the key elements here is that, when you have a war of this type, often the legal aspect of it gets lost in the actual fighting. But what Vice President Harris did was it made sure that the Russians knew that they were being watched for human rights violations. The Ukrainians, of course, have special prosecutors that are looking at violations such as those that occurred in places like Irpin and Bucha. But the key thing to think about here is that this may mean consequences for Russian political and military leaders at the end of this war, whenever that occurs.
Now I want you to have a listen to what Republican Congressman Mike McCaul told CNN's State of the Union earlier today about U.S. military aid. Let's take a listen.
For the past year, we've been very slow at getting these weapons in the name of it being too provocative, whether it be Stingers, Javelins, these short-range artillery, now longer-range artillery, ATACMS that can take out the Iranian drones in Crimea, and also aviation like F-16. If we put this stuff in from the very beginning of this conflict, a year from now may have been very different as we look at the anniversary on February 24th. The longer they drag this out, they play into Putin's hands. He wants this to be a long, protracted war because he knows that potentially we could lose the will of the American people and therefore the Congress.
Does McCaul have a point there that an influx of more sophisticated weapons could end things quickly?
Yeah, to a point, to an extent, he does actually. And the key thing here, though, is the training that has to go with these kinds of systems. Paula, it becomes really important. If you give somebody an F-16, they got to know how to fly it. They got to know how to arm it. They got to know how to use it in a way that is most effective. And that is going to be the critical thing. The training for a weapon system like that needs to occur way in advance of delivery. And they're moving in that direction, but they really haven't done enough of the training for flight crews to prepare them for something like the F-16. The tank crews also, they're getting the Abrams and the Leopard tanks. Those need training as well. So it's going to take a while for these weapon systems not only get to Ukraine, but to be employed by highly trained, effective crews, and that will make a difference. Unfortunately, the clock is more on the Russian side than it is on the Ukrainian side at this juncture.
And Senator Lindsey Graham called for F-16 pilot training to begin for Ukrainian fighters. Even though no one has committed jets to Ukraine, would that really be a good use of resources right now?
Well, it depends. We would have to have a plan in place to actually give them F-16s if we're going to train them on that kind of a weapons platform. The British are, of course, training them on NATO standard fighter aircraft, which does include the F-16, also includes the Typhoon. So there are other aircraft that could potentially be used. So we have to have a well thought out plan before we do that kind of thing. But training should definitely occur. We should figure out exactly what platform we're going to give the Ukrainians before we embark on that training, just so that it gets the most bang for the buck, both literally and figuratively.
And I want to follow up on something you said earlier, just about the length of this conflict. Does a longer war give an advantage to Russia and Putin?
Yes, it most certainly does, Paula. And unfortunately, the Russians have time on their side. They have manpower on their side. They have weapons supplies in the form of ammunition on their side. And they also have a fairly docile population that is not rising up against this war, at least not in large measure at this point in time. So the Russians can kind of wait us out here. And the weakness of Western democracies has historically been that they kind of lose interest in conflicts like this. This one might be a little bit different because it's right on Europe's doorstep, but Western democracies have to continue to pay attention to what's going on in Ukraine, and they have to continue to support this effort if they don't want this fighting to occur in their country, on their land.
And the U.S. is also raising concerns over China's support for Russia in the war. So far, China hasn't supplied the so-called lethal support, but could that change?
It most certainly could. The one thing, Paula, that we have to remember is that Russia and China have an intelligence sharing agreement with each other. They also exchange technology. They also exchange weapon systems. They build aircraft collectively. So there is a military relationship. There are diplomatic, of course, relationships with them, and they have what they call an undying friendship between the two countries. So they are a very dangerous combination for the West, and it's very possible that the Chinese will try to circumvent any sanctions that are placed against them and against Russia. So we could very well see lethal aid going to the Ukrainian front by the Chinese, being provided by the Chinese. And that, of course, could be dangerous for the Ukrainians.
And I'm curious to get your take on that meeting between Antony Blinken and his counterpart following the takedown of that China surveillance balloon. What do you make of this meeting?
Well, very interesting. I'm glad it happened. I think it's very important for China and the U.S., in spite of their differences, to meet at the highest diplomatic level. And when Secretary Blinken met with Wang Yi, his Chinese counterpart, that was not really a thawing in relations. But what it was, Paula, was the opening of a door where at least there's dialogue between these two major powers. We won't like everything that the Chinese do. They won't like everything that we do. But it's going to be really important to keep that dialogue going, not only because of what's happening in Ukraine, but also what could potentially happen with Taiwan.